My friend came to this writer's house in 2009, and he told me about it. So he said that it was great and that I should go. And I said, okay.
How do you decide which language to write? I mean, your first book was published in Spanish, yeah?
Yeah.
It was translated? No, it was originally written in Spanish.
It was both original lyrics and I translated my own work. I wrote it in Spanish because I was in Argentina. So I was speaking Spanish all the time.
I managed to see that you are also working here, that you are here, but you are working in America too at the same time, editing literature.
Yes.
Literature webpage. You are editing a web magazine from Ventspils, and I read the text that you wrote with a mark that you are doing it from Ventspils, Latvia.
Yes. I'm one of the managing editors for Quarterly West, which is a literary journal out of the University of Utah. And so we just launched our new issue with a new website that I built, and we finished all of the details just last week. So I was editing it from Ventspils.
But the system, what authors can participate in that? Are they university authors or?
Anyone. Anyone can submit work to Quarterly West.
And but the selection, the quality, or it's upon you, or?
Is it up to me? It's not up to me. We have separate editors for fiction, poetry, nonfiction, and new media. I manage the editors, and I manage behind the scenes the website and other kinds of information. So I don't personally do the selections, but I do eventually read all of the work because I put all of it on the website and publish it.
And when it comes to multimedia, then it's very often a tricky thing that poetry still is a language as a universe in itself.
Yeah.
And this add-ons sometimes, if it depicts text, then it's like nothing more. And sometimes it makes text maybe even weaker because you need to, it's just something different. How do you think about all these matters?
Well, it is something different, but I don't think that it necessarily makes text weaker. I think it depends on each individual new media project, like what the project is. I know right now we've published on our website sound poems as a form of new media, which, I mean, I think they're very interesting. I don't think every new media project is necessarily successful, just like every poem is not necessarily successful. But I think it's an interesting way to utilize the technology and the different ways that we're experiencing a more technological world, and people are still trying to make art and use some of the, I guess, principles of poetics in new ways.
Do you have readers, the webpage and your text? And
we hope.
And what kind of people are they?
Well, I hadn't thought of that. I mean, we hope we have readers. I've been lucky enough to meet people who have read my work, which is good. I think most of the people who read the magazine or who read my work or who read most of the poetry that gets published today are probably other poets. and other fiction writers or other artists.
But you are published in serious magazines. I mean that among more than 1,000 different literature issues in America, the ones you've been published are perceived as serious. I checked. So you are sort of a serious poet, yeah? Right.
Yeah, yeah. I would say I'm serious. I mean, I came all the way to Latvia to write poems, so yeah, I think that's pretty serious. Yeah, it's what I do, and I'm lucky that I get the opportunity.
The main theme that you wrote in description, with what you are working, it's like different stories that people create about themselves. And did this trip somehow added to that story to you, this Ventspils? And
yeah,
we have Russian gypsies, Latvians, 3 different communities in Ventspils too. And
yes, yes. I mean, it's been a really unique experience because I don't speak Latvian and I don't speak Russian, and it's made me think about how I think of myself as someone who communicates, because a lot of times my experience here is that I can't be understood or I can't understand. So.
But it's normal. It's just understandable misunderstanding, because well, when you speak English and you don't understand each other, then it's somehow not so. Yeah.
That's true. We often speak English and don't understand each other, but it's different to be able to hear everything, to hear people talking, and to not have any comprehension of what's being said, and. That's unique to me. That's strange to me. It makes me think about how I'm able to communicate, the ways that I'm able to communicate in my own language or in other languages. I have tried to learn a little bit of Latvian to be able to just to understand it more, and being able to communicate even with 5 or 6 words in Latvian, and which isn't a lot, I know.
Will you risk to say them on record? No.
Sure. I've learned to say a few things. I've learned to say nesaprotu. Runāju mazliet latviski. And Starptautiskās. Starptautiskās, telefono, augst, a few things.
A writer somehow writes 2 stories then. You are writing your actual book, and then you are having your life story. Yeah?
Yeah, I think of it as you're writing what is actually happening, but what you're really writing is what you think is happening, and what you think is happening is not always what is actually happening. And so the story you write about yourself is the story that you think is happening, and that doesn't always correspond to reality, I guess. I guess the way I see it is the writing that I do is my way of interacting with the world and interacting with others. And it just so happens that the writing can do that better and more widely sometimes than me as a person. So it's how I interact. It's how I communicate and interact with.
But you are trying also to raise the creativeness of other people. I mean, there was this project, Line Assembly.
That project was amazing. Um, because what we wanted to do was basically we drove around for a month talking to people about poetry. And what in America, the way I guess literature works, the way poetry works, is that a lot of it comes from universities and people who are studying poetry in school and are publishing books with university presses, which is good. All of that is good. But there are a lot of people who are writing poetry and writing just their own stories outside of that, in communities and in libraries and in small groups. And we wanted to just talk to people about why that was important, that they keep doing that, and that their stories are valuable and important and just as worthy of being heard as any story that comes out of the university or a famous writer.
How much did you collect it?
I think maybe a little over, you mean how much money?
No, these lines, these small stories, 2-line stories, yeah?
Or more. So many. And I think we also just personally collected our own stories by just talking to people. The best thing about it was that we got to talk to people about poetry and hear why it was valuable and important to them. And to hear their own poems. I mean, to go to a library in the middle, I don't want to say the middle of nowhere, but the middle of nowhere America, and hear people write poems and read them it's an honor, you know, to be able to do that with people.
And your favorite fortune stories?
I think one of my favorite, I mean from this trip? Yeah. We met a young man in Geneseo, Illinois. Really, it's the middle of nowhere, Illinois. It's in the center of America, just about, who wrote this amazing poem in this workshop in the library, and it was about like being baptized, and he read it for us in front of a camera, in front of these cornfields. And he was just so excited and so happy that there were other people out there who were writing poems and who were interested in poetry and who thought it was great that he was interested in poetry, because he's one young man in a small town in the middle of America who doesn't necessarily have a lot of outlets or people who are saying, yeah, go for it, write poems, that's fine. You know, and his enthusiasm was just incredible. And so like meeting each single person and hearing about their individual lives and their special connection with poetry was easily the best thing to come out of that.
Now maybe it's about to make some conclusion, how it was to be here. And
I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing to be here. I think I'll be thinking about it for a long time. I think Latvia is amazing. I think it's a wonderful country. Everybody is really nice. Everybody's really nice. The language is very special. I think the culture is very special. I've had an amazing time, and it's a privilege and a blessing to be able to come to places like this. And I feel very, very lucky to have been here and to have experienced the writer's house, but just also Ventspils in Latvia. It's great.